last year at the Executive Council meeting in 2007, it was really decided to kind of take advantage of the Chesapeake Bay Program. And what the program has always done, the Bay Program partnership has always really set goals, and the partners have always taken different approaches on how they would implement those goals, how they would meet those goals. And traditionally, we've always looked at the results, sometimes the lack of results, and the progress that we've made in getting there. And the concept here with the champion roles was to really look at exactly, not looking at the end result necessarily, but really looking at how different jurisdictions, different partners have gone about trying to implement different things and really trying to get lessons learned from the actions by different partners and sharing those lessons learned with all the other partners. And really kind of came through some broad areas here. Some of the broader areas of emphasis, too, was really a lot of these champion roles, and we have 17 different champion roles. We're really trying to accelerate implementation through this, trying a lot of new approaches and different strategies, and we're really getting some results from it, and I think this is something that we're going to refine over the next few years, and I think it's going to get really better where all the partners learn from each other quite a bit more over the next few years. So I'm going to go very quickly into a number of these different champion roles. Accountability. Anybody who was here earlier heard Governor O'Malley talk a lot about his Bay Stat program, and that's really been a centerpiece in Maryland for progress in Bay restoration. And Bay Stat program is really a way to measure results and to keep folks accountable for what's going on. One thing about Bay Stat and through this accountability champion is the Chesapeake Bay Program, the overall partnership, developed a Chesapeake Action Plan this summer. We actually presented it to Congress, and the Chesapeake Action Plan was really based in a large part on what Maryland has done through the Bay Stat program. Virginia championed agricultural conservation practices, and they really focused quite a bit on all different types of conservation practices, cover crops, stream fencing, and they allocated $20 million for best management practices, conservation practices on farms in this last year, and that is the largest amount by far ever appropriated in Virginia for these kind of activities. And we are going to be learning quite a bit from Virginia and some of the successes and really the measurements that they're going to have on what were some of the best uses of the funding and the different practices. Biofuels was championed by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Chesapeake Bay Commission, and they had convened a 22-member biofuels panel last year. They met regularly throughout the year, and it culminated in a biofuels summit last September, and really is culminating today on the signing of a directive that's going to be going on while we're all here today, hopefully at lunch. And that's something we're really, as a region, trying to take advantage of biofuels. Cellulosic fuels is really going to probably be a win-win for this region. And blue crab restoration, this is something that Maryland and Virginia jointly decided to champion, and they have taken different steps, but they agreed jointly to a 34% reduction in the harvest of female crabs to try and stabilize and restore the blue crab population in the bay. And both states, Maryland and Virginia, have taken slightly different approaches on how they're doing that, and hopefully we'll learn from each other. Blue Plains, the Chesapeake Bay Commission has championed trying to get increased funding for nutrient reduction at the Blue Plains Sewage Treatment Plant, which serves the Washington metropolitan area. It is by far the largest sewage treatment plant in the nation, and Blue Plains is the single largest discharger of nitrogen in the Bay watershed by far, about 6 million pounds every year. The Commission has had some success in getting some funding, at least partially through Congress, for the related combined sewer overflow, which goes into Blue Plains. And Delaware has Delaware has championed carbon sequestration. They've held a symposium on this, and they've really been moving forward. All the partners in the Bay watershed participated in the symposium that Delaware held earlier this year, and really addressing a lot of agricultural issues and trying to analyze a lot of the water quality benefits associated with carbon sequestration. The Environmental Protection Agency, along with all the partners, as I said earlier, developed this Chesapeake Action Plan, which was partially included in this report to Congress, which was delivered this past summer, and it's really been, we've had one big data call, and it's in part based on Maryland's Baystat, and we're moving forward with this. It's evolving, and it is hopefully going to help to accelerate restoration and also help to make all of the partners more accountable to the public. Pennsylvania has championed the Conowingo Dam and Reservoir, and Conowingo Dam is one of 4 large dams on the Susquehanna River. Conowingo is actually in the state of Maryland, but the 3 other upstream dams have all filled with sediment behind it, and Conowingo, every time we have a major storm in this region, the bay would actually be impacted quite a bit more by sediment plumes coming down the Susquehanna, but a lot of it gets trapped behind Conowingo Dam. There's a big concern that capacity to trap more sediments is coming to a close, and Pennsylvania actually championed this issue and was able to fund jointly with the U.S. Geological Survey a new study on trying to figure out how this sediment moves behind the dams, and this is the first big step in really trying to possibly address a resolution to this problem. Engaging local governments, Maryland was one of the champions of engaging local governments. They've provided a lot of restoration and restoration funding as well as technical assistance to local communities, and really trying to just get local governments more involved in bay restoration. That is where a lot of decisions need to be made to try and help restore the bay and protect what we have. And West Virginia also championed local governments, but they were looking at a very specific focus, trying to work with local governments in West Virginia on stormwater. And they organized a workshop. They actually worked with Maryland Maryland staff on training as well. And they're focusing very specifically on stormwater issues with local governments in West Virginia. And the Chesapeake Bay Commission championed the Farm Bill, and this was a major effort by a number of partners with Chesapeake Bay Commission in the lead. And the Farm Bill passed this summer, and there was $188 million over the course of the Farm Bill for Chesapeake Bay restoration money for conservation programs on farms in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, within all 6 states of the Chesapeake Bay watershed. And the U.S. Forest Service championed forest conservation, which was a natural, and they've hosted a forest conservation summit. They've also been looking at developing ecosystem markets, a bay bank, more or less a trading program, and that is going to be shared with all the partners in the watershed. The District of Columbia has championed green infrastructure, and they have done a lot. This is just a photo of a green roof here in D.C. This is on the roof of the American Society of Landscape Architects. It's one of actually a growing number of green roofs here in D.C. D.C. has also had a state-of-the-art stormwater permit to try and reduce stormwater pollution. An innovative technology fund championed by Maryland and EPA. There's been funding by both Maryland and EPA. There's been partners with University of Maryland and Maryland MTech Ventures in Maryland for a seed capital fund. EPA has provided funding to the University of Maryland also for more innovative technology. The U.S. Navy has also taken a lead on low-impact development projects at naval facilities around the Bay watershed, and there are dozens of them. This is a photo of pervious pavers in a parking lot at Fort A.P. Hill, which is actually an Army facility in Virginia. And restoration funding, EPA championed restoration funding with a special innovative grants program that's providing funding through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And this spring, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation will be issuing $12.9 million in grants for innovative non-point source funding projects. And last but not least is wetlands restoration. The state of New York and the private nonprofit Upper Susquehanna Coalition has been doing some excellent work in the furthest reaches of the Chesapeake Bay watershed in working on private lands with private landowners, many farmers as well, to restore and create wetlands, and there's a lot that we're all going to be able to learn from what they're doing. Thank you, and I just want to remind you that all the posters are back there. There are 17 posters, and there are folks who can explain the champion concept for each and every one of those back there. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.